the wind around here, Woody, just can play havoc. And, you're in all these pine trees, and we've got kind of what's going to happen the rest of this week. And I'd really love to pick your brain on what this wind is going to be like this week. And then basically, for the most part, what you would do as a caddy. So here we're going to get round one. This is in easterly. And this is the great thing about March, I think, is that you can get 4 different wind directions, 4 different days, where May you really kind of got the same wind the whole week for the most part, every once in a while. But here's going to happen. Here's south-southeast. You go from east to south-southeast, and then you go to round 3. It's changing a little bit more. And then in round 4, it's pretty close to the same direction in round 4. But you can see how different. We're going to get, for the most part, we're going to get 3 different winds this week. How does this golf course, in your mind, kind of change as the wind changes? And what are some of the, what's the most difficult wind condition that you see here from this type of golf course, or this golf course in particular? What's the most difficult wind direction to read? And then what's the most difficult wind direction overall?
I think it depends on the player. I think somebody like Matt Kuchar, who likes to cut everything, when he gets that left to right on 2 tee shot, it's very tough.
Sure.
He can't turn it over very much. But what the key is to kind of identify the wind before the round and go through it while you're warming up. I think the 2 toughest holes for wind are 17 and 18, because the rest of them are kind of closed in. You've got huge pine trees everywhere. You can kind of hit shots that stay below it a lot. And, of course, it's going to still affect it, but not as much. When you get to 17 and 18, you are exposed. I mean, whatever wind it is, you're really going to get hammered by it. So I think that in-2 left to right on 17 and 18 is the toughest wind to play out here. Other holes it makes easier, obviously, but for those 2, when you're so exposed, it's the toughest shot. But the key is, Aaron, and we talked about this earlier, is preparing your player for those tee shots before the round. Hey, we had this wind yesterday, and I realized we hit this shot. When we get out there today, let's say 15, for example, that dogleg right. When you get that right to left wind,
brutal.
It's a driver all day long.
Yeah.
And you try and cut it around that corner, knowing if you overcut it, that bunker is better than the left rough, just because of the angle.
Yeah.
Now, if you come in the next day and it's straight downwind, you want your player to know before you get to that tee, before the round even starts, it's a 3-wood today. You don't need to hit driver, just so when you get out there in the round, you don't have to have that conversation, and you don't have to explain why it's a 3-wood. He's already got it in his head. It makes things much simpler, and if you're clear and confident in the shot, most likely you're going to make a good swing.
For sure.
When you're not sure, if you ask me what I like on 15, and I have to take out my book and go, let me see, yesterday we had this, and today it's this, and I think today it's probably 3-wood. Or if you ask me, I go, it's 3-wood all day.
Well, so that's the thing. As a player, I remember getting out there because of that wind, and because you can hear it, feel it banging around in the trees and swirling before you get to 17 and 18, it to a certain extent, it's kind of a guessing game. And it'll throw you off. And understanding that you have one direction that's up there, but the fact that it's banging around in the trees, as a player, you're sitting there going, oh, man, have I got the right club?
Right.
Is this the right club for today? Is this thing going to get hit and go through the fairway? If I hit this shot, is it going to get affected more? Or am I going to get the actual wind? Or am I going to get a faux wind, basically, here? Which you can get a lot of faux winds out here in these trees.
100%. And I would say 2 things to that. One, you've got to talk to your player and say, I know you're feeling that right here, but that is right here. Up there, it's doing what it's been doing all day long. Yep. You've got to trust it. And there's other things you can do, not necessarily throw up grass, but point out things. Look at the Spanish moss that's hanging in the trees. It'll all be laying one way. Yep. That's a great way to say,
100%.
Look, you're feeling this, but look at all this Spanish moss is laying that way. Or the flags up on top of the bleachers, the U.S. flag that they put up over here. There's a lot of things to show your player to, ensure him that he's got the right club in his hand. And if you're not sure, you need to start things all over. If you're not sure, you can't kind of go, I think it's still doing this. You got to let's put everything away and start from scratch. Here's the numbers. Here's what it should be doing. Let's find something that either confirms or contradicts what we think and go from there.